question.
You've mentioned standing on principle several times. You've also brought up the life issue a couple of times. For the record, would you state your position
Yes.
on the sanctity of human life,
Yes.
as well as
Yes.
the premature endorsement by special interest groups of certain candidates, and how you feel that may affect the outcome?
Well, and the Ohio Right to Life did endorse in this race. And I think it's been a shock to just about everyone who knows anything about the candidates in this race, as well as across the state. I'm getting calls from other leaders that are strong in their communities, pro-life, in places outside this district, because the truth is, I do believe that that's, when it comes right down to it, that is one of the most grievous acts of America right now, is the fact that we have said that it is legal to take the life of an unborn child. If you want to take it back to Scripture, if you're a believer, look at how many nations in history were constantly dealt with harshly by their Creator when they were sacrificing their sons and daughters in the streets. It's interesting. Take a look at the book when you get home and look at how they suffered as a result of that. If you don't believe and you don't have a faith, then read the Declaration. The founder said every one of us have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And therefore, that means no one should be able to take it away. So here we are with an issue that the country has said it's okay to do blatantly what is not okay. The Ohio Right to Life, my wife and I both, and I even before that, I guess Dusha knows since she's at the pregnancy center, but it's been 40 Days for Life chairman, been participated with the Walk for Life. Long before I even knew Dusha, would gather with the groups to do the hand-to-hand lining the streets in Wayne County and so on for the life issue, and actually produced for the Ohio Right to Life just about a page of activities where I've been the keynote speaker at pro-life events, contributed to the different pregnancy centers, all sorts of things. And at the end of the day, they chose the candidate that had the least involvement in any of those activities. And the executive director said, well, you know, we've been talking a lot to Washington and so on, and we've just got he's a new director, first of all, for the agency, brand new. And he said there were just other factors. There were other factors. And I hesitate to say these words did not drip from his mouth, but as I met with them, more or less what it was, you could have drawn the conclusion, the size of your campaign fund would determine whether you got the endorsement. It's very disheartening because the Ohio Right to Life is a good organization with good intentions, and there's still good men and women that are supporting Ohio Right to Life and serving on the board and otherwise. But if you're truly trying to convey to people who has the strongest background in that particular issue, you would think you would choose the one that's actually been involved. You can actually go online, I'm sure. The other night at one of our meetings, one of the candidate that was endorsed, and I don't normally talk about the other candidates, but you asked the question. This issue came up in Medina. A woman in the audience said, I want to know your backgrounds on that issue. And when the gentleman that got the endorsement, Paul Schiffer, could give an extensive resume. You know, he's even went to jail for that issue, standing up for life. I haven't gone to jail, I will admit, but I had my list of activities. Then the gentleman who got the endorsement stands up and says, listen, when it comes to the life issue, life's just not about birth. It's about your late years in life. And I've been in the nursing home industry, and so I have been a strong defender of life, end-of-life care, and so on. And I didn't get a chance to rebut, but what I wanted to say was, you're missing the point. Right now in America, there are laws that say you can murder a child. There are not laws that say you can murder an elderly person. That's why the life issue, it's about the unborn. It's not, yes, we all respect life until death, but there's no laws yet that say you can kill a senior citizen. But there are some that say you can kill a child. And yet, isn't it ironic that that's the gentleman that gets the endorsement? No wonder the voters are so frustrated. How do you navigate through all of these untruths and half-truths of some of the very organizations we trust?
But it's in the nursing home's best interest to keep that person alive as much as possible.
That's right, I guess so.
Okay, Kathy had a question.
Yeah.
And then
It's as much a statement as it is a candidate, as a question. One of the perceptions that we have is we want someone with the right values, the right attitude, the right understanding of the role between government and citizens.
Yes,
But we want someone who can go down there and fight, as your question was.
exactly.
I think we've witnessed today someone who has a skill that is profound and reveals how he will fight. The gift of explaining, the gift of understanding those issues and communicating it with others. You will have a platform to stand on the floor of Congress, if nothing more than in 1-minute speeches, and advocate for things that we care passionately about.
I appreciate it very much, and I'll tell you, along with that faith comes this thought. The book of Daniel, I think 5 times, Scripture says God told Nebuchadnezzar, "For it is I, the Lord, who am sovereign over the kingdoms of men. I set over them anyone I wish, even the lowliest of men." And Nebuchadnezzar didn't believe it, so he got sent to the woods on all fours until he finally agreed, okay, you're the one that calls the shots, you're the one that's in charge. But if you believe that, it makes it much easier for you to stand up on these issues. Because it would appear to me what he was saying is, I'm the one that will control where you end up and what happens to you. So you just stick with me, and if I want you to lose, you'll lose. If I want you to win, you'll win. But one way or the other, you keep your eyes on me and my ways, and it'll all be well. And I guess I can stand here before you today. It certainly has proved true up to this point in my life, so I'm not sure that he'll renege on his promise.
I believe it was earlier this week I heard Glenn Beck make a statement. I said, that's absolutely right. We not only need to relearn our history, we need to relive it. Now, as far as this Roe versus Wade, January 20th, 1973, where in our Constitution does any court have any kind of power to make a law? I mean, the legislature body never said it. We're going to vote and say a woman can kill her unborn child. So, that's a usurpation of power.
Let me tell you something that I just came across yesterday. A gentleman and I were having a conversation, and before it was over, this is what we came to group. He said, Matt, you're both pro-choice. You're both pro-life and pro-choice. And I'm thinking, what is he talking about? But you talked about a good explanation. He said, in the future, I think you should stand up for a crowd and say, I'm pro-life, and tell why, and then say, I'm also pro-choice. I believe every woman has a right to choose whether or not she gets pregnant.
But
she had a choice at the time of conception.
Abraham Lincoln.
That's a two-way street.
Yes, exactly.
Abraham.
Choice before
That's
conception.
what I
That's
said.
the
I said
better way
I'm
to say it.
pro-choice too, but
Yeah.
it's before conception, not after.
You might want to stick with that, because that way you...
That's right.
Abraham
Yeah,
Lincoln.
that's right.
Abraham Lincoln was told by the Supreme Court, in his day, says you can't issue the Emancipation Proclamation. The Dred Scott case says, that slaves are property, and you can't release them. And he said, thank you for your opinion, but I'm issuing the Emancipation Proclamation. So every court decision is an opinion only on that one case. And Stonewall Jackson did it earlier. Nixon should have stood up in '73 when this was first decided and said, no, killing an unborn child is still murder. Thank you, Supreme Court, but there's not going to be any murder of unborn or born children.